Yeah, and some people are like, how do you deal with that? Well, and you know what? The whole thing that Warmups does when he says that, like, what I talk about is like, that's cope. And then it's like, it's cope.
I feel like everything's cope.
Well, I mean, what isn't cope?
Unless you have, like, the perfect life, which, like, I doubt anyone does.
No one does. Believe me, the only perfect person was Jesus, and he died on the cross for us.
Yeah, like,
whoever chooses him, that is.
I don't know, I don't like that attitude where he just puts down everything anyone does to, like, feel better.
Or, I don't know if he does it to... That, and he talks about his family like... Okay, the only person he seems to be okay with is his aunt and his nephew. Those seem to be the okay people. And, well, I mean, not everybody has the best family. I don't have the best family, but mine is probably way better than one's family. I don't know what he dealt with. Again, and if you ask who here has a normal family? Even back then, there's no such thing as a normal family. Everybody has problems and issues. There's no such thing as perfection. Nobody, and all those people, I just wonder if he lived in suburbia a long time, where he's kind of like, no offense, but people in suburbia, they're kind of in a bubble.
I mean, either you put it more better than my statement, where I would just say, yeah, everyone from suburbia is just assholes, because that's my
Well,
whole
it's not
work
just
program
that,
in a
but
nutshell.
they don't have a wider understanding of maybe the same kind of hardships that other people are dealing with, and how the wider world works. Because honestly, you know what? There's no such thing as middle class. Believe it or not, that's actually made up. Actually, it was by
Wait until you're not one. Talk about everyone else. Including my asshole boss in my work program. But, yeah.
We're not even middle class. We could be considered like low middle class, but you know what we called it? Blessed. That's what we said. Being blessed. Saving our money. Which, honestly, everybody regardless needs to do that. To the best of the ability that they can.
Yeah.
They do that in Europe a lot. Well, come on. Okay, I'm just going to go on here and read it from here.
No, wait. Actually, you want the perfect, most exaggerated version of normal? Anime. Straight
well, Richard,
up. High school romances are the most exaggerated. It's
going to be less likely, but middle class, as far as middle class that they talk about in the news, even before all this, it was actually not a... It's sort of like a government category that was made up to number the whole game and everything. That's kind of what it was. It's got to be here. So I can't do it. Okay. It's by Bob Livingston or Personal Liberty Media Group. It's a PaleoCon magazine or publication. Worried about the so-called wealth gap? Here's how to close it permanently. The latest code words circulating in Washington, D.C. cesspool are income inequality, the wealth gap, and a living wage. These are all examples of altruistic doublethink. They are designed by the elites who love to use class warfare and envy to distract the masses from the truth of the economic malaise they have created through profligate, sped, and money printing, and their corporocratic fascist system. Actually, I've never seen that word before. If you believe the middle class in America is not doing so well, then you should know that it has nothing to do with lack of government regulation or policy aimed at protecting this covetous segment of the American population with a minimum wage. The reason the middle class is not doing well is that there is really no such thing as being middle class. There's being an American citizen who is financially comfortable and has an enjoyable work-life balance. But the only reason the term middle class exists is because it is a convenient way for the political power structure to promise comfort in return for economic and social freedom. I think that makes more sense. In fact, there is an ever-widening divide between the elitist class and their enforcers, the government, and the mundanes, or hoi polloi, that government love to label the middle class. But the gap is not due to wealth, even though you are supposed to now hate those who have accumulated it. Well, if they come from all the money and they have the power, understandable to not like them. I've added that. Anyway, back to this. Increases in wealth are not a zero-sum game. One doesn't win when everyone else loses. A rising tide lifts all boats. No, the mundanes are finally recognizing that decades of banksters and Wall Street denizens getting special dispensation during economic crashes while the people get shafted has been made possible only by the Federal Reserve's inflationary money supply and subtle means of theft from all of the people. U.S. government is currently experiencing a collapse of its moral, economic, and legal foundations. The collapse was inevitable during the establishment of the Federal Reserve. The elites created fiat paper money. With it, they have polluted the planet and put people at the mercy of a cannibalistic bloodlust of a dog-eat-dog gravity. Economic depression brings on this kind of inequality, not disparate income or wealth. The U.S. wouldn't have high income inequality if any of the jobs political psychopaths have been promising actually manifested themselves in any way. Instead, they have disappeared into the black hole created by the U.S. fascist system, overregulation, and self-inflicted damage from the pandemic. It's in quotes. Politicians themselves created the conditions they now barely complain about, and yet they are supposed to be our leaders. In quotes. Be sure to let me know when an actual leader emerges from amongst the deviant elected in parentheses class. And then there's on what's misinformation and wealth studies and studies by the University of Michigan and other stuff like that, and it's sort of long. And by the way, these are newsletters I get via email, so you have to be like subscribed to their email. That doesn't even mean like you gotta pay. You just opt for the email, so it's longer than that, but it gives you an insight of there's a whole bigger picture of this.
Yeah. You're a great reader. You should be a flight attendant. Just kidding.
Yeah, I mean, straight up still, literally any freaking class isn't suck a show.
Most people, I don't think most people's, I mean, hey, it wouldn't be bad to have a nice car or something like that, but most people want a reasonable, proper work-life balance. That's just the basis that most people want. Yeah. They want their children to be able to do well. They don't have to go to the top schools and all that. I don't understand this. Like,
I went to a prep school and literally everyone there thought I was going to be a doctor or some shit, but I'm literally.
Well, I mean, not every. And besides, some people, and also, there's all this pressure to go to college.
Oh yeah, I got that all the time too.
Most people are pressured to go to college because they're like, well, the jobs we used to have aren't there anymore because NAFTA took them. But we're going to have to get back to the trade jobs, and we have to. We really have to, because that's what is reliant. We went from manufacturing to a service economy, and honestly, I think it sucks.
No, it does.
I mean, look. I mean, I don't dream of it. I don't think. I'm not saying that everybody should live to be like a factory worker on a assembly line, but if it gives you benefits to where you can support your family,
honestly,
and
those
medicine,
jobs aren't even that bad. They're pretty sweet.
Yes, that's what we had years ago until NAFTA was signed. The year I was born, actually. And then in the next 2 years, a lot of the jobs started leaving, and my mom remembers telling me. She told me that there were a lot of people that were lining up to take nursing classes because they didn't know what kind of job they were going to have because they got screwed over by the corporations. Yes, that's how bad it is. And when people like to blame the problem, oh, it's drugs, those are why people are poor and stuff. Well, who gave them the drugs?
No dumbasses.
Well, part of it is Big Pharma, and also the makers of OxyContin lied to doctors saying that it wasn't addictive. And those doctors, there's actually a mini-series, it's a rendition from what really went on for the trial of the people that made OxyContin. It's called Dope Sick. I haven't seen it, but I've heard it's really good. So, yeah.
Sounds good.
Used to. Let me tell you something. Hospitals, especially if you go to a hospital, it seems like it's more for profit. Like, if they're giving you a surgery on something, it's like, okay, you want us to take off some extra of this? And I would be like, no, just get out of me what needs to be get out of. And all this stuff. I mean, yeah, Art can tell me. He knows. He's seen how the hospital system around where he is has changed. And that started around like 2007, 2008. Something about that year. Not only did it change around here, but it changed over there. So, I don't know if this is some sort of plan to make people more precarious or not. I don't know. I'm just saying. If it starts affecting the world, other places at the same time, you gotta really think hard. Like, is this being planned, deliberate? And also the people saying that drug dealers, that, first of all, most people now, even, thankfully, certain people in the evangelical court, which I guess I was kind of part of it. No, not really, I wasn't. I always had questions about it. even they are acknowledging that most drug addiction is by people through no fault of their own. Because it has a physiological effect on the body, especially painkillers. Opium has that ability. Wars were fought over opium fields. And oh gosh, we're going back to the Afghanistan thing. You've heard that, I'm sure. So yeah, we are becoming a precariat people just around the world. Although there are some people in certain countries that are better off than maybe than people here. I mean, that doesn't make capitalism bad. It's corporatism that's bad. It is the same kind of system like socialism is, except it's by a company that is basically buying out these smaller companies and saying, okay, you're ours now, and killing Main Street, and basically crushing people's dreams. No. And down in the Belt and Road Initiative, that Russian government is in bed with the CCP and the Israeli government. Pretty scary. And some people say it's just a trade thing, and I'm like, when was everything just a trade thing? It becomes a lot bigger than just trade. Look at NAFTA. Look what happened to us, and it doesn't put a disadvantage at a lot of people in Central America too. They had their manufacturing scrapped. Although, if there's any clothing that I see that is made in any Central American country, I have no problem buying something from that because, hey, they're closer to me than China is. And it's part of the new world, so we're all in the Americas, so. When people say, it's just like with the euro, they said, it's only for economics, but then it started being about telling other countries how they should have their laws in a very prideful, like, rude way. Saying, okay, you better let these people come in here that you don't know and that don't share your values, Poland, one of the most Christian countries in Europe, Central Europe, may I add. And of course they said no. And good on Poland. God bless them. God bless all the countries in Eastern Europe and other European countries that are awake to a lot of this crap. Because they're tired of being told what to do by EU bureaucrats. So, but yeah, so we got warm-ups. He calls stuff. He's like, that's code. That's code. And honestly, it's like, now, he actually approved of me doing one decent thing, and that was me complimenting Monica's eye makeup, which she did for St. Patty's Day. And then I decided, wanted to add on to it, and it was like, I'm proud of you, Heather. You said something that didn't have to do with yourself or anybody else in your family. And then I said something else, and I said, well, I mean, if the makeup bothers you, it could be some ingredients, and then I put that, and he's like, oh gosh, you blew it, Heather. And I'm like, what is it you want me to do, man? What the hell is wrong with you?
I feel like you talk the same way a lot of people do, and it's not.
Yes, I mean, it's making me rethink, like, is there something wrong with me? Am I being normal?
No.
Am I trying to be? It's like...
No, I think that's kind of messed up. But I do think that you talk about yourself in a normal way. Like,
no, I did talk about too much for...
Everyone relates to each other with their own experiences, so, I don't know. I think.
Well, then again, Warmus doesn't like talking a lot about himself. I mean, he has before, but...
He does, though. He does.
Or maybe he does.
Like, I remember the last time he ever did.
And besides, I mean, name a conversation in which nobody talks about themselves.
That'd be a lame conversation. You don't get to know each other. I don't know.
Hell, I make fun of myself.
So basically, it seems like he wants to be devoid of any kind of connection to people. That's what it seems like to me.
No, I think it's normal to relate with your own experiences.
And what bothers me is that, and that's why if there's any chat that he's in, I feel like, oh crap, I gotta watch what I say. I feel like I have to police what I say. Because, now, if he wasn't there, or even people that is in there, and I'm like, what if I say the wrong thing? And what if just have it, because it makes me feel afraid of those people that have invited him on as guests, except for Overdone Fun, because they knew me before warm-ups. So I shouldn't have to feel uncomfortable just going to where I usually go because of some person that think. And he kept telling me that
Just talk like you normally do. Like, don't listen to him.
And when I shared, and I was like telling Overdone Fun, may I at least share what books I got? And then of course he assumes, because it probably has to do with Jewish conspiracy theory about how they're taking over people. Which, look, just because you're against Zionism doesn't mean you're anti-Jewish. Come on, man. Even though he knows that there are Jews that are against Zionism, he said not everybody else believes that. Well, I'm saying it because it's true. It's not being hateful of Jews. It's being hateful of a horrible system that makes up the Israeli government. That's the problem. And everybody's has talked about this for the past, however long, this is the past 7 years in its current form. So, it's not a new thing. It's just one of those labels like, yeah, deflection. And then he said, or something about, like prepping plants and stuff like that. And I was like, I've got a Sopranos book commemorative by Time magazine. And he's like, well, there you go, Jewish conspiracies. And I'm like, they're Italian, dude. He was reaching for some sort of loose connection. I'm like, he was being overly literal and just like,
No, I get it. It's hard because he has his mind made up on like literally everything. So.
Or his opinion of me, or it's like he doesn't want to let something go. And I'm actually trying to improve myself according to what you say is a problem that I have with. And you're just pushing me down. I hate it. At least I am with Morgan and Jay Cogley, and Jay Cogley can be a snob at times, but he at least tells me beforehand about it, or afterhand, or explains a little, because he knows about how I am. And he likes having me on, too, so he's way better than warm-ups. And he's the sociopath, too, so go figure.
I had to freaking convince the guy for like 10 minutes straight to bring you up the first time around. Because I'm like, yes, I know her, she's a new co-host after I shake Ken Gilbert. Just please take her up.
And Overdone Fun, they're nice. Shay, she's a sweetheart. Shay Dark Hippie.
Mr. Background noise. Oh my god. Freaking Christ. Yep.
Well, I think snobs is kind of like a-holes. You know, there are some a-holes that are just funny a-holes, and there are a-holes that are just, they're annoying, and I'm like, why am I around this person?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And Warm-Up says admitted, yes, I'm an a-hole. Yeah, but he's not. Okay, he's not Negan. Let's just say that. Seriously, Negan on The Walking Dead is an a-hole. But he's a funny one, and he's so entertaining to watch. Warm-Ups is... Okay, never mind. That's the best example, though.
I will tell you, child of God, I live with a family who's a giant fan of The Walking Dead, so yeah. I mean, I'm the one who just watches the shit.
Well, it can, Winter, it can be because of parents, but it could be just the people they're around that they choose, too, so...
Well, don't make yourself feel uncomfortable being around him. You don't need to change how you act and what you say to make him happy. Like, who is he?
I mean, Heather, you've seen me literally see shit that pisses off people. I don't care. And yet, I've gotten away with way worse shit, but yeah.
Are you trying to make something to add to the fishnets?
I'm trying to move up the file because you can't move shit in the program, so...
Oh!
I mean, my